Hi besties, I'm Dana. Today we're doing a get ready with me / makeup tutorial because you know I always show you how I do my makeup because we are going to go to see Santa today. I'm very excited. I'm going to go with my dearest family. I'm so excited to have a family day and we are wearing matching PJs. I'm also vlogging today and I also showed how I chaotically did my hair in the vlog, so stay tuned. Say coffee. So do you guys remember when there was like passport makeup trending and all of that because it's very photogenic? I wanted to do that kind of vibe but for Santa pictures, and I wanted to make it a little bit more holiday-esque because we're in the holidays obviously. So I wanted to do a Mocha natural makeup glam look. Yeah, that's a mouthful. I'll figure out what to title the video. But I was looking through all of my products and I decided that I wanted to go with very dainty looking makeup opposed to very harsh glam. So I wanted to do an in-between, almost like I did with my Wicked Get Ready With Me, but a little bit more golden. But first, I need to put my hair back because we can't have this on my face. My favorite clips to use are these that have the little backing right here because they avoid creasing. I'm just going to put my bangs behind my ear and then I'm just going to pin them like so. And boom, out of the way. I already did my skincare today. I am freshly showered even though my hair is already full of hairspray, which I need a hairspray even more because I have so many flyaways. Does anyone else have that issue? Or am I just dealt a bad hand when it comes to hair? My Vegas humor. Okay. Per usual, I like to start with my eyebrows. Today, I want to keep them quite natural as always. I'm going to be using a thin angled brush that has a spoolie on the end to just kind of spoolie them out. I like my natural eyebrows, especially since they're growing a little bit more evenly. I don't know. I think it has to do with my diet. I honestly think that having more nutrients gives you better hair growth. And I feel like they've been growing in a little bit more evenly, specifically my left one. But they still need a little bit of help. So I'm going to be using my Senna Brow Book. I love this palette because it has so many different colors. It's super versatile, especially if you're going into the freelance world. You basically have all your shades here, including a pomade that you can mix in. I'm going to be using shade Noir just because I have very dark eyebrows, using that angled end. And I'm just going to lightly fill in the ends. Nothing crazy. I like to put down the hair sometimes just to get on the underneath and the skin because that's where the pigment really goes, on the skin. And I'm focusing it only on the ends because I don't want a super harsh eyebrow. I just want to help it look a little bit fuller. And do that on both sides, and like I said, they're still not even, so I do require a little bit more product on my left one. I feel like I always talk about my left eyebrow. She's like the star of the show. So I go a little bit heavier handed with my left girl. Again, I like to kind of push the hairs down just to get underneath, and then I'll spoolie that out just so it all blends nicely. My goal is to look like I don't have anything on my eyebrows, so I think this is pretty good. Now going in with my trusty flat concealer brush, I'm going to be using my Makeup Forever HD stick. You guys know I live and breathe by this thing. Makeup Forever, if you're seeing this, please sponsor me. I love your products. I'm gonna go right into the stick foundation and I'm gonna apply that on the lids because I genuinely think it's the best way to prime your lids. You can use this. You could do this using concealer, but I just prefer to use this product just because it's so versatile. I'm just going to slightly carve out the shape of my eyebrows. Again, I don't want to be too harsh about it, so I'm really looking to blend this all out completely. So I'm applying it all over the lid. Getting a little closer to the mirror. Don't mind me. Getting a little closer for the detail right here. I like quite a thin brow just because my natural brows are quite thin. I don't like to make them a lot thicker. Using a denser brush, this one's from Real Techniques, I'm going to go ahead and buff all of that out just so there are no harsh lines, especially up here. I want to blend all of this out so there's no line, just like that. To set it, I'm going to be using this eyeshadow palette from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Super Nudes Easy Eye Palette. I love Charlotte Tilbury anything, so highly recommend. I'm going to use this shade right here. It's not super light, but I'm going for a mocha style type of color scheme, so it's perfect to transition us into that. So I'm using a fluffy brush to apply it just because I want it to be very thin, because this is just so we get rid of that stickiness. Just like that, and it makes for a very natural looking lid. And now I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then I can use my brow that's already done as sort of a guide for symmetry. I always like doing my easier brow first, so whenever you're doing your makeup, see what side of your face gives you more of a hassle and then start with the better side, because then you can match it and it ends up looking better overall. I don't know. I don't know if that's actually does anything, but my mind says it does, so that's just my little tip. And once you kind of carve it out, you kind of get a clearer picture of what really needs filling in. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I'm not adding anything else to the brush. This is just whatever is still remaining from what we did earlier, just to kind of add back some symmetry color-wise. Because symmetry isn't just a measurement type of thing. It also goes with pigmentation. So you want to make sure that you're mindful of those things. And I'm gonna use that shade again all over the lid. I think I got some of the other shade in there a little bit, but that's okay. Making sure we really blend up here. Just like that. We're gonna go very simple, but still there, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, you'll see what I mean. So we're gonna go in with this shade right here, neighboring that first shade we used. I'm using it on a little bit of a packing brush. And I'm gonna start applying that to my outer corner and blending that into my crease. This is just our transition shade, so we're gonna deepen afterwards. We're not going for super crazy boldness though. We're going for a very wearable, you can wear this to any holiday party or just anywhere you're going really. We just wanna leave a little bit of a wash of color and make sure you blend out those edges. That's what's gonna be really important. There's a teeny difference. And do the same on the other side, starting in this corner right here and then fading it outwards. I wanted to do a mocha color scheme because I thought it would contrast really nicely with the red satin. So I'm kind of glad I put red in my hair because I think it's going to make it really pop, even though we're being a little bit more minimal than we usually would. At least I say we as in me. But let me know if you try out any of my makeup looks. I know on TikTok a couple people have tagged me, especially for the Pikachu look that I did, which I'm planning on doing a makeup tutorial for next Halloween because it kind of popped off on TikTok. People really liked it, and I got like 3 girls recreating it, and I was really, I don't know, I felt really good because people actually liked it, you know? It makes me so happy when I read comments that are like, I also got one where somebody did my makeup tutorial, they used my makeup tutorial for their prom look, and then someone else wore my cyber futuristic look for a festival, and like that's what it's all about for me, teaching people how to make up, you know, and helping people out. Now using the same brush, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the deeper color right here. I'm only gonna focus it in the outer corner. It's all about layering. Just lightly. And using a smaller tapered packing brush, I'm going to use this darkest brown and just kind of apply it in that same corner. I'm applying the color first, bring it inwards, and then using my other brush and that color that we used previously right on top, and this is going to really help us blend out the color while still giving it depth. You want it to just be a wash of darkness. Like I said, super wearable. If you like watching my videos but you don't usually wear that much makeup yourself, this is a really good look to do for the holidays. Just like that. And then blending out with the first color. I'm going to do a half cut crease, but I want to make it very blended. I want to make it very seamless, so I don't want it to be too harsh. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my Makeup Forever stick and I'm going to start applying it, but in a little bit of a more blended out way. So I'm taking it, instead of making a harsh line across, I'm actually taking it all the way up to my brow bone and starting to blend it into the brown. So essentially we're covering the first half of the lid, but using minimal product because if you use too much then it's just going to be too heavy. So I'm going to apply all of this, making sure to feather out the edges. And I'm going to be using this Pat McGrath's Venus in Flora's Luxe Quad. This is super cute. I'm going to be using this shade right here, Rosefire Nectar, on a flat brush. And I'm going to set that entire lid, especially in the inner corner. That's what our brightest point needs to be. I love Pat McGrath's shimmers. They're truly luxury beauty. I know Pat McGrath is on the more expensive end of makeup, but when I say it is so worth it, I mean it. Going very blended all the way up, just like we did with our foundation / concealer, because you can use concealer, just like that. And don't worry about covering the brown because we're gonna have a fix for that. Because now going back in, I've said this a couple times before, makeup is a big back and forth game. So going back and forth between colors is key. So I'm going back in with my brown shades to re-intensify those colors. Even with my darkest shade, and I'm gonna apply it at an angle so that it gives a little bit more dimension. Just like that. I want no harsh edges. So that's really what the going back and forth is for. This is what we're looking like, and before we move on to the next steps, I'm gonna do the same on the other side. I'm going to be doing the same exact thing. Again, putting it all the way up to the brow bone. No harsh lines this time. Just vibes. We're going to do the same on the other side. Again, super, super blended out. Again, going in with our shimmer. And really packing it on. Using a flat brush will get you the best results when it comes to shimmers like this. But I'm also going to show you something that does it even better. What does it even better is your finger. So I always like to take my finger and just focus that inner corner to really, 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 really brighten it up. Same as these on the other side. And like before, we're going to go back in with our brown shades, so we don't lose the depth. A lot of back and forth when it comes to makeup, and I think that's the fun part. The layering process is so cute, and I think it's really fun when somebody asks like, oh, how did you do your makeup, and you have like extra steps. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a pro or because I have my title or whatever, but I just feel like so excited to talk about makeup with people, because then people are like, oh really? Or no, did I just nerd out? But again, adding in my darkest shade, a little bit at an angle. And I like using a tapered brush for the darkest shade because the very tip is super thin, but fluffy enough to blend. So it's perfect for intensifying in these little areas. Just like that. I'm gonna make sure they're even. I like looking in different mirrors while I'm doing my makeup just because it gives you a real good idea of what it's going to look like out in public, because sometimes we get so focused into one tiny little mirror that when we go into like a bigger mirror, then it kind of looks off and you're like, what's wrong with it? Like, it looked so good before. You just got to be really aware of all different angles, all different lightings. You're always going to look different in different lightings and different vibes, so definitely would recommend looking in the mirror all the time, everywhere. Then I'm gonna take my concealer brush and I'm just gonna sharpen this edge a little bit. But notice how I didn't add any product. I'm just kind of cleaning things up. And once you do that, you can kind of see how far you can blend out and what you can get away with, because then that means I can blow this out a little bit more. I want to keep our eyes quite big, so I don't want to do really harsh liner. So instead of doing a harsh liner, I'm going to use the same brush I actually used for my eyebrows, and I'm going to go in with that darkest shade. And I'm going to do a shadow liner, tracing our line that we just created. So I'm just going to trace upwards, and then bring it back inwards to create a shadow wing. Super blended out wing. So it doesn't take away from the brightness of the eyes and doesn't make us look too dramatic, but it still adds a little bit of flair. So I'm just gonna slightly bring that inwards. And I'm only bringing it sort of into the middle. I'm not taking it all the way down here. So I'm stopping halfway through, almost where my dark shade that we used in this corner meets my shimmer. And we're not going for super intense anything, so once we have that, I'm just gonna add a little bit more product to sharpen this up even more. I like to make it quite thin. So this is another reason why doing your eye makeup before your base is good, because then you don't have to worry about messing up your base. You get a little bit more wiggle room, just like that. Like I said, it's a back and forth game, so personally, I'm gonna add a little bit more shimmer to my eyes. And more than anything, this is a blending game. So since we're using the same shade to do our wing that we did to intensify, I'm just gonna kind of marry these together at the corner. We quite literally just want the shadow of a wing. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. I hold a pencil weird, so I hold the makeup brush weird, so it's really odd for me to do my left side like this, but bear with me. I'm going to try to show the camera as much as I can. but I am just repeating my steps. Let's see right here, actually. I like to kind of squint and look into the mirror this way because it really lets you see how far up a wing goes or how far your shadow goes, so you could really do your symmetry a lot better that way. And I like doing shadow because it's a lot more forgiving than a gel eyeliner, especially when you're working with waterproof like I do usually when I do my eyeliner, because there's nothing too precise about this. Again, bringing it inwards, not all the way. Just like that, I'm blending out. Especially with wings, it's a very back and forth game because you want to make them as even as you can without going insane. It really is just an eyeballing game when it comes to these sorts of things. The main point I could say about doing any type of wing, whether it be with shadow or with real liner, is use your eyebrow as a guide for symmetry. Your endpoints should be symmetrical to the ends of your eyebrows. Once we have somewhat of this idea down, we're going to move on to the base and take a little break from the eyes. For my foundation today, I'm going to be using the REM Beauty foundation. This is one of my all-time favorites. I have talked about this countless times on my channel, but I can't help it. I absolutely love this foundation. Especially when it comes to the color matching, it really matches my neck well, which is one of the most important points to make when you're picking out a new foundation, which I also made a video about. So if you don't know how to pick out your perfect foundation, go watch my video. It's 5 simple steps to pick out your perfect foundation. Trust, it's the best way to go. I have it up on my channel, so go check it out. I like using a brush to apply because it really conserves all of that coverage. Always make sure that you're blending it down your neck and by your ears, because a lot of the time people forget to do this area over here. When it comes to the forehead, I don't carve out the top of my eyebrows, so I just kind of apply and kind of try to blend it out sparsely. But I'll show you what I do to extra blend it in because I have a little trick that I love to use, which I've used before. So let me know if you've seen the video that I'm talking about. Once I apply my foundation with my brush, I go in with some setting spray all over. And then using a puff, a foundation puff, not a powder puff, I go in and kind of melt that product into my skin. It makes it look a lot more natural, removes any cakiness, and it conserves that coverage. And adding the setting spray beforehand really is going to do a lot for the longevity of the makeup for the whole day. And as you can see, I kind of avoid my under eye area when I'm doing just my foundation. You can get these off of Amazon. I avoid the center of my forehead and the underneath and my chin because I add different product there anyways to brighten, and I don't want to layer on too much product. So I leave it a little naked, and then I'm going to use my Makeup Forever stick as foundation because if you didn't know, Makeup Forever is actually meant for cameras. It's like super good for camera work. So that's why my first kit ever was all Makeup Forever foundations. When they used to have the different presentation, they had the black containers instead of the new ones that they have now with the new top. I'm applying the stick foundation with my concealer stick, and then when it comes to my wing, this is when I'm going to really sharpen it and bring it outwards, and you always blend downwards. This is really important because you don't want to blend into the color. I like to apply it to each section before I blend it out. I'm using shade Y205. I have the same stick in a couple different shades. One that's more similar to my normal foundation, one that's a little bit darker for more contrasted looks, but I think the brightening one is my favorite one just because I use it as concealer so often. I think it's just perfect, especially for priming the lids. I do that on almost all of my videos. It just really gives you the best base, especially since you're using such a light color. All the colors just really pop that way. I'm adding to my forehead, all your highlight points basically right here, and I also like to add a little bit right here. Before I blend it out, I'm going to add more setting spray and really get it to set in. Do not start blending it until it dries. Well, the setting spray dries, obviously not your face. Once you fan yourself a bit, I'm going to take my denser concealer brush, the one that I use to blend out my lids. Very versatile. I like using the same brushes if I can because then you don't have to wash that many. Also, this one's just really good. So I like to tap it in to conserve all of that brightness. The only areas I tend to see myself going back and forth in is in this inner corner in the nose. A lot of people forget to blend this out well, so I like to really give a lot of attention to there. Blending into the tear duct, and then I go back and forth to blend underneath here and make sure I'm topping the rest. And then to blend the two worlds together, I'm gonna go back in with my puff that I used to blend out my foundation. I'm gonna kind of bounce it around this edge right here, just so it all looks cohesive. And I'm gonna set as I go, so I don't want that much creasing. I want to avoid it. So I'm gonna set as I blend out. So I'm gonna set this area right here. I'm gonna be using my Airspun Loose Powder. I'm gonna set using this fluffy brush from Real Techniques. I'm gonna apply the powder with the brush, and I'm just gonna tap it in. Tapping it in, not swiping, because we swipe after it's set. You know, all in, especially on this inner corner. Just like that. And I'm gonna do the same for my other eye, my forehead, and my chin. I don't like applying too much makeup directly on my nose just because I feel like it kicks up a lot for me. But you know, I think all makeup is all preference. I'm a full coverage girly. I know I said natural makeup, but I am doing full coverage. That's just my definition of natural-ish. But I did say glam, natural glam. Just more wearable is what I would consider this mocha look. When it comes to the forehead part, make sure that you're really blending out in the eyebrow area. You don't want to leave a harsh line there. So over here, I do like to kind of feather out. I feel like doing your makeup is very much like painting a picture. You kind of use different techniques. I use paintbrushes sometimes to do my makeup, so very, very hand in hand, I feel. And I do the same thing with my forehead that I do with my under eye to blend it in. Go over it with my puff just to marry both worlds together. I'm also going to set around my mouth with the loose powder to set the rest of my face, because if you didn't notice, I only did the center parts of my face. I'm going to be using my Revlon Color Stay pressed powder because this has a little bit more coverage to it, and it's also a little bit more true to my foundation color, so it's going to give us dimension without even adding bronzer yet. So I'm just going to tap that everywhere and making sure that I get underneath here, because remember, we brought it all the way down to our neck, and a lot of the time people forget to set that as well. I'm gonna set everywhere that I didn't with my loose powder. And to, again, marry them together, I'm gonna use a little bit more loose powder just to fade the edge between them. And I'm gonna start to swipe away a little bit of the powder underneath my eye, just so it's not too heavy. Everything's just a big blending game. Now we need to add some color back into the face. I'm gonna be using my Sephora Collection Micro Smooth Baked Palette. This palette is so great, especially when you're traveling. I'm not traveling right now, but I'm just saying I've taken it places because it has everything. But I'm just going to use the bronzer and the blush. I'm using the blush because it's a little bit more red tinted, but it's still pink. So I think it's perfect for this look, especially since I'm wearing red. And I love the undertone of this bronzer. So I think it really ties into that mocha-y feel because it's not too orange toned. I feel like that's a really big thing with bronzers all the time. So I'm just going to use a fluffy brush, get some of that, and I'm going to start doing circular motions using my ear as a guide, going towards my lip. I'm gonna start right there, and I'm gonna trickle it up towards my temple and down to my jawline, which is also another reason that it's important to set here, because if you don't set here, then it's really gonna grab too much product, and you don't want to get any muddy looking bases. So we're gonna create our three. I'm gonna do that on both sides. I like doing circular motions because it really helps blend into the foundation that we set. Especially when it comes to photography makeup, you want to be a little bit more intentional with where you place, not even where you place, but because that's always, but how intense you make your bronzer. And sometimes it's really easy to go too muddy with it. So gradually building it up is the way to go in my opinion, because you want it to still show up on camera. But since I want it to be a little bit more wearable, I don't want to go too crazy either. So once I have that, I'm going to use my blush brush and that blush shade. And I like to tap in my brush a lot of the time at first, and then I start to kind of swirl it around because then it really marries it to the bronzer. And I like to bring it a little bit more inwards, and then I kind of touch it a little bit here on the temple just so it kind of has that harmony, like so. And don't worry, we're going to fix the under eye so it doesn't look so crazy. But we're going to do the same on the other side. And now the way we're going to make our under eye not look so crazy is that we're going to take our small brush, and without adding more product at first, we're just going to start to run it around the edges of the blush just to soften it up. And then adding a teensy weensy bit of powder, starting at the corner because that's going to be our brightest point. Then we're going to kind of feather everything out. Top as well. And then I'm just going to take my brush and just tap very high points just to make sure that that's our most pigmented point. And you can see the difference between the two sides. Do the same on this side. I want my lips to be super sparkly, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. For lip liner though, I'm going to be using this lip pencil from MAC, and this is in shade Whirl. This is a little bit of a nudish color, but it's a little bit darker, so it gives our lips a little bit of dimension. So I'm just going to lightly line my lips and bring it inwards. Use my concealer brush to kind of sharpen the edges as I go. Notice how I'm filling in the corners and fading them inwards. I love the undertone of this lippy. It's so mocha, but it's still mauve, so it's like that perfect in between. And to fill in the lips, I'm actually going to use a pinkier shade, but this is a little sheer, so it'll still shine through. This is the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb Stick in shade Fussy, so I'm just going to apply that everywhere. This has the prettiest glitters, and it'll give us that really nice contrast. And then I always like to go back in with the lip liner. And if you didn't think I was already sparkly enough, I'm going to add one of my favorite glitter glosses. I don't know that they sell it anymore, but this is from ColourPop. This is part of their Frozen 2 collection, I believe. This is, yeah, Frozen 2 and Mystic Journey, I think. But this is the prettiest gloss. It is so, so, so gorgeous, and it has a brush tip, which I love. I'm just going to apply this over. I'm just going to brush this over. It just adds that extra oomph. I love the glitters in this gloss. It's so cutesy. I'm definitely gonna take this in my purse. And I like this lip combo because it's that in between of pink and like mocha, which is exactly what we're going for. For lashes, I'm gonna be using these right here. I like them because they're a little bit spikier, so they give you a little bit more of an oomph. Always measure your lashes so you know how much you need to trim off. I think I'm just gonna trim off one segment from these. Then I'm gonna apply them using Kiss Lash Glue. I'll apply some to the band and a little bit to my actual lash line. And I'm gonna carefully place these with my finger as close to my lash line as I can. Before I touch them at all, I'm gonna let them dry, of course. While that one dries, let's do our other side. Make sure they dry. Once they're a little drier, I pinch them together with my fingers. Just like that. Once I've done that, I'm going to take an eyelash curler and curl them up to the sky, especially the outer corner. I'm going to do that to both sides. And once those are curled, I'm going to add mascara to them to really make them pop and blend in with my natural lashes, especially on the outer corner. By the way, if your lashes always poke you, it's probably because they're too long. That's why it's so important to always trim them. And because this is not only a mocha makeup look, a holiday mocha makeup look, I want to add some cutesy little rhinestones just to the corners of my eyes, just for a little razzle dazzle, literally. I'm going to add super tiny ones, and I'm going to apply them with lash glue right here in the very corner of my eye. I'm gonna pick them up with tweezers. I'm just gonna apply it right there, just for a little sparkle. How cute is that? And just like that, this look is complete. I think it is so beyond cute. And I'm gonna do the drag queen trick because I'm going out and put hairspray on my face. Yes, I know it's bad for my skin. Thank you so much for watching this makeup tutorial. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. I absolutely love this look and I'm so excited to go take pictures. So stay tuned for the vlog because it'll be up shortly. If you're watching this video, it might already be up. So go check it out. Go look at my channel and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this look or liked my vibe or chilling with me. And don't forget to follow me across all social platforms. On my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Substack, I'm Dana Belen across all platforms. And don't forget to comment what look you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching, besties, and I'll catch you in the next one.